Hi, I'm Mark Donovan, Director of Commercial Applications for Audio-Technica, today to talk a little bit about our ES964 tabletop boundary microphone. Now this is it sitting right here, and it's this little round microphone. You can see the wire coming out here. And this looks an awful lot like any other number of boundary microphones you may have seen in the past. And there are a couple differences though, is that this one microphone actually has 3 elements built inside of it. But the difference doesn't just stop there. Actually, we've done this quite a bit differently. So most of the time when you talk about multi-element boundary mics, what you have is you will have 3 elements in there, or however many, that just slice the pie up. They just have these elements pointed in the different directions. But we've actually taken a page from our broadcast handbook, and actually from a little bit from old school recording techniques in how we manage this. And how we manage this actually has to do with how we mix together different elements. And the best way to kind of talk about this, I'm actually gonna pull out one of these here, and I'm going to take it apart a little bit just so you can kind of see what we have inside of here. So, this is the inside of this microphone. And what you have is you have 3 different elements. The center one here is an omnidirectional element. And then these 2, which are at right angles to each other, are bidirectional elements. All right, so whenever you have an omnidirectional element and a bidirectional element together, you can actually mix those together with varying degrees of volume and of a phase, and you can actually create, I guess, what you could call a virtual element. And so now, because I've got an omni and I have these 2 elements, each one, by the way, is independently wired going back to the mixer of your choice, you can actually make adjustments to change just how these patterns operate and where they are created. So I'm going to shift over here. I want to show you guys real quick. This over here, this is a page out of the manual. And this page in the manual shows you what you can do as far as creating different directions of pickup. So, at 0 degrees, or straight off the front of the microphone, you've got these different phase and different levels for each of those 3 elements. And you can see how by changing phase and by changing levels of these different elements, you can actually shift this around. Now, the interesting thing about this is that when you take this into, say, an open architecture mixer, for example, QSYS. We have a QSYS plugin for this, a DSP plugin for QSYS. It's doing all of this math behind the scenes, and you can actually, in essence, copy and paste those processing blocks that do these different levels and do these different phases to create multiple elements. So when you're looking at just this microphone right here and just these set of 3 wires, you can do 1 element that you move all around, or 2 or 4. So you can do several of them all off the same ones. And also you can change that through presets. So this makes it very flexible, very scalable in that regards. Now, there are other ways to do this as well. In fact, we have our mixers, our ATDM 0604 and ATDM 1012 series mixer, which actually have some of the settings for this baked under the hood. And I want to show you that, and I want to demonstrate to you just how this can matter. So I'm going to shift over here. This is the mixer that we have, our ATDM 1012, and it's in the virtual mic mode, which is designed to support this microphone. And you can see up here at the top, you can see this little image, and I'll expand this so you can see it a little bit better. This is showing where that element is pointed. So right now, and the logo actually is facing me, so this is facing me, and that microphone is completely on axis. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to rotate this microphone around until it's completely off axis so you can hear what that sounds like. So here we go. So again, this is the ES964, and you can actually change the direction of the pattern in our 1012 by simply clicking on these different points until it goes around, and you can see right now where it's 180 degrees out. It's backwards from here, and you can hear very clearly the difference in the isolation between them. And then, of course, as I rotate this back and I bring it closer again, 90 degrees off, bringing it back in until finally it's close up and it's right here in front of me. and now we have that full sound of it since it's pointed directly at me. So this gives you an incredible amount of flexibility and also great sound quality with the ES964. Now, a couple other things about it to understand. Again, this wire here actually contains all of the independent microphone elements, and it's going to go back so that it can go to the DSP of your choice or to our 1012 mixer or our 604 mixer. It has the appropriate breakout cables and everything that you would need to get it to where it's going. This is an analog microphone, so it's you can certainly run that cable however you need to do it to get it where it's going. But actually, one of the nice things about this is we have equipped it as well that the end of the cable that comes out of here is actually terminated in a couple of category cables. So these are actually still analog connections, but we've made it so that you could use shielded Cat5 cable to connect to these so that you keep the integrity of that mic signal and just use something that's a lot easier to deal with, a lot easier from an infrastructure standpoint. Now, you may wonder, why is it that we have two connectors on this? Well, one of these connectors is actually handling the three audio signals, the three microphone elements that I pointed out before. But the other one is actually a logic one. So you may have noticed, I'm sure you noticed, that we have a nice green ring around this microphone. And we actually have capacitive touch switches, which are really hard to see in these images, but they're actually here, and I can touch this. And I can mute and unmute that microphone. And you can see I have green and red for mute. Now, this is set up right now in a local mode. There's switches on the bottom of this that allow me to change between local and remote modes. And so you can see that a little bit more clearly as I flip this around here. So you can see that I actually have the two switches here that allow me to do muting in the local or the remote mode. And so I can actually control that through an external DSP. So that's what that other Cat5 connection is for. That's for control wiring. So to take the switch out to go to DSP to do what you want to with it, and also to bring logic back to change the LED ring between red and green. Which, by the way, just like our other ES925 series, our other ES products, there's actually 7 different colors and off that you can use to indicate your mute and unmute states or your active and inactive states. Typically red and green, that's the default mute and unmute, red and green. But you could do blue and white or red and off. It's whatever the situation of ours requires, whatever the application requires. So this is a very flexible mic, the ES964. This is actually the next version of what we have, a ceiling version of this. So we have a hanging version of this as well, the ES954. That's just a little overview on how it works and also a chance to get a listen to how it sounds. And that's all I've got on the ES964 today. Thank you very much.